just going to cover a quick review for tomorrow's biology periodic. We have chapter 4, 5, and 6. So we have circulatory and the lymphatic system. Then we have the immune system, and we have excretory system. I'll start with the circulatory quickly. So basically, the circulatory system includes the heart and a network of blood vessels. These blood vessels include arteries, capillaries, and veins. Arteries are composed of thick walls and carry the oxygenated blood away from the heart into the arterioles, which are tiny branches of arteries which further lead to capillaries. So basically, when arteries are going away from the heart, they also branch into tiny branches, which are further called arterioles. And the same goes for veins, and when they extend and branch out, they're called venules, and they lead to capillaries. Now for blood pressure is created by the pumping action done by the heart, and it accounts for the blood flow of the arteries. Capillary walls are only 1 cell thick, and they facilitate the exchange of material between blood and body cells. So blood flows from them into venules and into veins. So we have the veins have thinner walls than arteries, veins have thinner walls than arteries, and arteries have thicker walls. So veins carry back deoxygenated blood to the heart, and pulmonary veins carry back oxygenated blood back to the heart, which carry blood from lungs into the left atrium. So let me just explain that quickly. Basically, the deoxygenated blood enters through the right atrium and enters into the right ventricle. Then it is pumped out from the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery right to the lungs, and then after it comes back from the lungs, it comes back from the pulmonary vein, and then it comes into the left atrium, and then it comes into the left ventricle to be pumped out into the aorta and to the rest of the body. So then we have skeletal muscle contraction is what contributes the blood flow into veins, so valves prevent backward flow. The muscles present in the walls of the heart are called cardiac muscles. You should know that. So again, don't get confused. Your right side is the cross section's left side, and your left side is the cross section's right side. So just don't forget that. Might get confusing. We have 4 chambers, of course. We have the left atrium, the right atrium, we have the left ventricle, and the right ventricle. Then we have, and the left ventricle has a thicker wall than the right ventricle, and you can even see that here. The left ventricle, this is the wall, and then we have the right ventricle. It's clearly thicker here. So then we have the right atrium gets deoxygenated blood from 2 veins, the superior and inferior vena cava, as I explained before. The deoxygenated blood flows from the vena cava into the right atrium, to the right ventricle, then into the pulmonary artery, to the lungs, and then it comes back through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium, into the left ventricle, and then into the aorta to be pumped out to the rest of the body. So after that, we have blood in general, because what does blood consist of? Blood consists of red blood cells. They're also known as erythrocytes. Just in case they ask like a trick question or they mention erythrocytes, it just means red blood cells. Red blood cells transfer oxygen through the body majorly. They're shaped bioconcave and they look like discs. We have white blood cells, which are also known as leukocytes. They're larger but less numerous than red blood cells, and they actually have a nucleus, which is large. They have several organelles, unlike red blood cells, and they mainly fight off bacteria and viruses, etc. So keep in mind the red blood cell lacks a nucleus and several organelles, so it makes it easier for it to flow into capillaries and the blood vessels in general. Then we have platelets. Platelets are small cell fragments that lack a nucleus and are formed in bone marrow, and their main role is in blood clotting. And then plasma. Plasma is the liquid component of blood, which is the liquid medium for blood to flow in. And we have blood circulation after that. Blood circulation in the human body, blood passes twice through the heart, and this is known as double circulation. 2 pathways, pulmonary and systemic circulation. During pulmonary circulation, the deoxygenated blood moves from the heart to the lungs, while in systemic it involves oxygenated blood movement from the heart to other organs. Organisms such as fish have singular circulation, so it does not go twice, just once. Now we have common diseases linked to the circulatory system, and one of them is atherosclerosis. Uh, this is characterized by the narrowing or obstruction of arteries due to fatty deposits buildup. It's called plaque or atheroma. This can cause strokes, possibly kidney failure, and coronary heart diseases. Now, this is also part of the lymphatic system. When it comes to the lymphatic system, uh, not all the blood that passes through capillaries with the plasma in it, some of the plasma seeps through capillary walls, and the leaked plasma in this is called tissue fluid. Now, not all of the fluid seeps back into the blood. A small bit is retained in tissues, and the excess fluid is drained back into blood by blood vessels, or you can say lymphatic vessels. Now, apart from the lymphatic system returning fluid back into blood circulation, it is also involved in nutrient absorption and defense against infections. And after that, now we have the immune system and excretory system. So let's start with the immune system. Of course, we have the pathogens. A pathogen is a microorganism or a virus that can cause diseases in living organisms. When a pathogen enters in a living organism's body and invades it, it is considered an infection. When the body is able to resist this infection and fight back the pathogen, it's called immunity, which is carried out by the immune system. The organism that has been invaded by this pathogen is called the host. So, what else do we have here? Diseases that are caused by pathogens are either transmissible or they're non-transmissible, meaning they can either be passed on to people you come near or they can be passed on. So now when they can either be passed on directly or indirectly. So it can be from an infectious person to a non-infectious person through contaminated foods, drinks, interactions with other vector organisms, or contaminated objects. To prevent this, we should follow personal hygiene, and it can limit the cause of being infected by pathogens. Proper sewage treatment is also essential to limiting pathogens in water. So then we have landfills. Landfills are places where trash is dumped and stuff. So it's clearly a huge source of where several pathogens or microorganisms can be formed. So for that reason, we need proper management for it. And then we have the innate immune system. This functions with mechanical and chemical barriers, and this is the first line of defense by the immune system against pathogens. So for mechanical, we have cilia in your nose and you have your skin. For chemical, you have tears, you have mucus, and you have your stomach acid. So these are the first lines of defense before your immune system acts against it. If pathogens cross these lines, the second line of defense is triggered, which includes inflammation, and it can be identified as redness, swelling, pain, or heat. White blood cells leave blood capillaries and move to the damaged tissue to kill the pathogen by phagocytosis, which is the process by which phagocytes engulf the pathogen. Then we have autoimmune diseases. An autoimmune disease develops when the immune system fails to recognize present antigens of our body. Autoimmune diseases can include type 1 diabetes, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and rheumatoid arthritis. So, autoimmune basically means when your own body fails to recognize your own antigens and attacks it and kills it. So, this is the case for type 1 diabetes, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and rheumatoid arthritis. Then we have the adaptive immune system. It's also known as acquired immunity and is a specific and targeted defense mechanism that develops throughout your life in response to exposure to pathogens. It uses specialized cells, primarily B cells and T cells, to create antibodies and kill infected cells, and it creates a memory of past infections to mount a faster and more quicker response if it encounters the same pathogen again. Say if you get sick, your body fights it. Now if you're given like a vaccine, or if your body is able to recover from it, it's gonna be able to recognize it the next time you're attacked by the same pathogen, and it'll be able to respond quicker and engulf the pathogen. That's it for the immune system. It's pretty straightforward. Then we have the excretory system. Obviously, excretion is the removal of metabolic waste products, substances in excess, and toxic compounds. Kidneys excrete through the urine. Skin excretes water, salts, and urea and sweat. Lungs excrete carbon dioxide and water. Bilirubin is a product from the breakdown of hemoglobin or worn out red blood cells, which is normally excreted by the large intestine. Now, urea is produced in the liver as the result of deamination of excess amino acids, which are released into blood to be filtered by kidneys and then excreted, further excreted through the urethra. Now, the organs in the excretory system, there's parts of with the kidneys, so it includes the cortex, medulla, and the renal pelvis. We have ureters that connect from, there are tubes that connect from the kidneys. There are tubes that carry urine produced by kidneys from the renal pelvis to the urinary bladder. Both kidneys are made up of thousands of tubules called nephrons, which are the functional unit of urine production in kidneys. Two steps of urine formation is filtration and reabsorption. During filtration, water is dissolved. During filtration, water and dissolved substances, which include mineral salts, glucose, and urea, are filtered out of the blood into the renal capsule within a nephron. Now, for reabsorption, substances needed by the body are reabsorbed from the nephron tubules back into the bloodstream, which conserves the useful compounds. Now, your body regulates urine to the amount of its present needs, so it's going to reabsorb all the nutrients it needs and then just excrete the ones it doesn't need. Some kidney diseases can cause kidney failure or reduced functions in the kidney. Now, two treatments for this are kidney dialysis or kidney transplants. In kidney dialysis, this is a process by which urea, excess salts, and water, unwanted substances are removed from the blood of a patient suffering from the kidney failure. It's performed using a special machine called a dialysis unit or a kidney machine. Kidney rejection, however, it can occur when performing kidney transplants. It occurs when the patient's immune system is unable to recognize the antigens present on the surface of the transplanted kidney, and it recognizes it as foreign and destroys the transplanted kidney. So there's no point of it after it becomes rejected. Now, this is the structure of a nephron. So you'll have to memorize this. Here we have the glomerulus, we have the Bellman's capsule, the afferent arteriole, the efferent arterioles here. Then we have the proximal tubule, the loop of Henle, collecting duct, the arcuate artery, the peritubular capillaries, and the distal tubule. So that's it for a quick summary recap. Then we have quite a few questions in the quizzes. So I'm just gonna go through a couple questions, including this. This is a phagocyte. So the thing is, these aren't really mentioned in our books, but you'll have to memorize it. Remember, phagocytes are kind of like a type of white blood cells, so clearly they include organelles. So you can see in the cell organelles and a nucleus clearly. So this is a phagocyte. Then moving on. This is a question many people get confused with. This may come in the exam either like this or in a different way. Starting with part A, the left and right ventricles contract simultaneously to pump blood into the aorta and the pulmonary veins respectively. This is the ventricular systole. The atria contract to squeeze blood into the left and right ventricles. This is the atrial systole. The semilunar valves are closed while the atrioventricular valves are open. This is the atrial systole as well. The atrioventricular valves are closed while the semilunar valves are open. This is the ventricular systole. Now I just find it easier to memorize it in whatever I see in the sentence, but really they ask it very differently in the exam, but you should probably go over this question. Oh, and make sure to memorize these. Of course, you should know these from previous exams. The tricuspid valve is found between the right atrium and right ventricle. The bicuspid valve is found between the left atrium and left ventricle. The aortic valve is found at the base of the aorta, and the pulmonary valve is found at the base of the pulmonary artery. This is quite easy. Should know the diagrams by now. For this, you're gonna have to know how the blood circulation works, of course. What blood vessel carries blood from the heart to the lungs where gas exchange occurs? We talked about this. It's the pulmonary artery. And what type of blood is carried by this blood vessel? It's deoxygenated blood. This is easy too. So for this as well, you'll have to know the blood circulation, which we went through earlier. Then we have, you might need to memorize this as well. So this vessel here in the kidney is the aorta, and this one here is the renal vein. Of course, this is the kidney. This is the renal artery. This is the aorta, by the way. This is the aorta. Don't get confused. The renal artery is located here. And here we have the inferior vena cava. Which blood vessel carries oxygenated blood to the kidneys? That's the renal artery. As we said before, arteries carry blood away from the blood. So, of course, when it's going away from the blood to all the body systems, it's going to be the renal artery carrying it. Which blood vessel receives the blood from parts of the body below the diaphragm is the inferior vena cava. You can memorize this as well. It's single and double circulation. It's very easy. Just go through this. Is present in all mammals. Of course, it's double circulation. Once is obviously single, being sent back to the heart. Yeah, it's double circulation. Of course, double will provide faster blood flow and less oxygen. To obviously, it's going to be single circulation. This is you'll just have to memorize this. The first step into angioplasty is plaque builds up inside an artery, partially blocking blood flow through it. So, by the way, this is just a process by which the arteries are being prevented from collapsing internally. So it's called balloon angioplasty. This is the disease where it's it's atherosclerosis. It's characterized by the narrowing or obstruction of arteries due to fatty deposits or buildup called plaques or atheroma. So this is what we're talking about. This is the treatment for it. So the first step that happens to it is that the plaque builds up inside the artery. Then a stent with a balloon is inserted into the partially blocked artery, and the balloon is inflated to expand the stent. Then the balloon is removed from the expanded stent, which keeps the artery open. So just to prevent it from closing and preventing blood flow. This is very easy as well. Then we have excretory system. This is also very easy. They will definitely, maybe they'll ask this question. It's about excretion. It is necessary for the removal of toxic materials, the waste of products of metabolism, and substances in excess of requirements from organisms. Just memorize that question. They'll probably ask it as a fill in the blanks, of course. Then you have to memorize the cross section of the kidney and ultrafiltration. Okay. The afferent arteriole has a larger diameter than the efferent arteriole. This creates a high blood pressure inside the glomerulus, which pushes away water, and many dissolved substances out of the blood and into the renal capsule. So moving on. This is the process of deamination, which you also need to know. Excess amino acids are not stored in the body. They are carried to the liver, where they are deaminated by the removal of their amine NH2 group. This results in the production of toxic ammonia, which is converted into urea and released into the blood to be filtered out by the kidneys and excreted in the urine. Now, the remaining acid group is converted into glycogen, then into glucose, and used for cellular respiration as a source of energy. I need to check one of these questions. No. This is quite easy. Of course, the kidneys filter blood. The ureters carry urine to the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder stores the urine for a while before discharging it. And the urethra carries the urine outside of the body. Okay. So they'll definitely ask this question. You need to know what deamination is and where it's taking place. It takes place in the liver. Okay, that's pretty much it for this chapter. Then, okay, which of the following are part of the innate immune system? As we said before, the innate immune system includes the first lines of defense, which are the natural barriers in the human body. After those are crossed, we have inflammation, which is what happens after those first lines of defense are crossed. My bad. Here. So this is about indirect and direct transmission of pathogens. Now, through vectors, it's indirect. Through blood transfusions, it's direct transmission. Through contaminated food and water, it's indirect. By physical contact, it's direct. By airborne pathogens, it's indirect. And by sexual contact, it's direct. So you have to memorize that too. So for direct transfusion, we have blood and physical contact. For indirect, we have vectors, contaminated food and water, airborne pathogens, and sexual contact. Then we have the chemical and physical barriers. Mucus is chemical, nose hairs are the mechanical. Secretions of the intestines and pancreas are chemical, and the skin is a mechanical barrier. So describe inflammation. So the first thing that happens is damaged tissues release chemicals. The second thing that happens is blood vessels dilate and increase in diameter. The blood flow to the damaged tissues increases after that, and followed by the damaged tissue which becomes red and warm, and the phagocytes move to the inflamed area to engulf the pathogens. Okay, so this is quite straightforward. Non-transmissible diseases cannot be transmitted from one individual to another, and they're sometimes caused by an unhealthy lifestyle, environmental factors, and hereditary factors. Basically, it's like type 1 diabetes as well. You can't pass it on, but it could be genetic or it could be because of your own lifestyle. Now, transmissible diseases can include, they're caused by pathogens, and of course they are contagious because they can be passed on from one individual to another. This is common sense. We went through this. Right, okay, so B lymphocytes are activated, and once they encounter the particular antigen they bind to. Sorry, my bad. B lymphocytes are activated once they encounter the particular antigen they bind to. Once they're activated, B cells change into plasma cells, which secrete antibodies that have a shape which is complementary to their specific antigen for them to bind to, of course. Okay, so type 1 diabetes is considered as an autoimmune disease because it occurs when the immune system of your own attacks the beta cells of the pancreas, which then halt the production of insulin, causing elevated blood glucose levels. Now, the symptoms of this are persistent weakness, hunger, frequent urination, constant thirst. It's mainly treated with insulin injections, which will be required for the rest of the person's life. I don't think there's anything else really. Then there's active and passive immunity. Let's quickly go through this. The lymphocytes of one's own body have been exposed to a specific antigen and have produced specific antibodies, and this is active immunity. Specific antibodies are given to an individual by injection or from a mother to the fetus. The lymphocytes of one's own body are never exposed to the antigen and therefore are never activated. This is passive immunity. No memory cells are formed. This is also passive immunity. Basically, active immunity is your own immunity acting up, and passive is you're being given the immunity and you don't have the capacity to fight it on your own. So it doesn't really form any memory cells. Antibodies take 1 to 2 weeks to appear during an immune response. This is active immunity because your own body is taking its time to respond and fight the infection itself. Some of the activated lymphocytes become memory cells. This is also active immunity because after you're done fighting that infection, your body now knows how to fight the pathogen the next time you get an infection from it again. Antibodies appear in the blood immediately. This is passive immunity because you're given the antibodies. It gives short-term immunity to a specific pathogen. This is passive immunity as well. Long-term, of course, it's your own, so it's active immunity. This is also memorization. You can just memorize that. So here we have a type of immunity acquired when a person whose immune system produces antibodies against a specific pathogen and develops memory cells against it is called active immunity, which is your own immunity when your body can fight. Now, the type of immunity gained against a pathogen by the transfer of antibodies from an external source is called passive immunity. This happens when your own body cannot fight anymore and the doctors have to give you antibodies as an external source for your body to actually survive. Vaccines are just weakened or dead pathogens, and they help build the immunity against the pathogen. So the response is characterized by a delay of several days. It's primary. It's more effective in eliminating the pathogen. This is secondary. Antibodies are secreted more quickly and in larger amounts. This is also secondary. Okay, so this question, let's do it. So A here is over here. We have the antigens. B is the T cell. Then we have C over here, and this is being the activation of the T cell. And then D, as you can see, it's replication. So a person was infected twice with virus X. How can you explain why virus X caused an infection upon the first encounter with the host, while the second time the virus was wiped out before it was able to cause an infection? Of course, this is because of memory T cells, because they've been circulating in the body for years and now they know how to fight the infection and they can launch it faster and stronger. Again, it's the same kind of question. We explained this in the other one as well. It's really simple if you actually understand it. So in this diagram, it's representing specific immune response. After a pathogen invasion, body cells attacked by the pathogen become infected. Now, what elements of the immune system destroy these infected cells? T cells, of course. T cells happen to memorize how they should be attacking the next time you encounter another infection from pathogens. So this diagram represents the adaptive immune system. So first step is the presented antigens are encountered. Then the T cells start to multiply. Activated T cells are produced. And activated T cells attack anything that looks like the pathogen and contains an antigen. Okay, we did this question before. They're almost like the same kind of questions. These kinds of questions come a lot in the exam. An antigen is any molecule capable of triggering an immune response. Yes, it is. All antigens are proteins. No, that's false. Antigens present on the surface of pathogens have different shapes and structures. Of course, yes, that's true. Lymphocytes are only activated upon encountering the particular antigen to which their receptors can bind. Yes, that's also true. So they're just repeating all the questions, and it's, if you go through it, it's the same kind of concept everywhere. So that's it. As for the past papers, I will be solving them and sending it as a PDF. Then apart from that, we don't really have anything else. All the questions are mainly the same thing. We don't have any chapters from last year, fortunately. So that's it for the video. Thank you. I hope you guys do good tomorrow in your exam. Good luck.